So while I'm taking my break from modern Platonism, this is my second video I'm uploading, and it's going to be about empiricism. Now, empiricism is where we get the term empirical data. And anyway, we all heard that very famous idea of Albert Einstein that ideas that you understand the ideas or understand a thing if they are being able to be explained very much in a simplistic manner. But you also have from John Locke's essay on human understanding a similar idea that the fewer words means the greater understanding. But there are some issues I take with this type of thing. For one, the issue I take with it is that it's not necessarily true. Let's say you stop talking about something. Completely and totally stop talking about it. Does that mean you understand it? No, it just means that you just don't want to understand it, or that you're just closing your mind off right there, and since you're no longer using your mind on it, that means you're not understanding it. Now, if you're explaining it, the big problems come in within the fact that some studies in some areas have special language, and if you're talking with a new person in that study who doesn't understand the language, or someone who's never studied that before, let's say that instead, you have to educate them on the language before you actually begin to explain the concepts. Otherwise, you're going to get nowhere. Now, there are some people who would get annoyed by you explaining the concepts. They might call you all sorts of names or whatever. But at the same time, that's because they don't have the patience to learn. And it doesn't mean that you don't understand it. It just means that there are people out there who are not able to accept that they don't understand things, and so, but they have a extreme of self-trust that it's really hard to get to them. So what do you do with those sorts of people? Well, you just ignore them, and if you're interested in something and they're not, try to get them interested gradually with, as Gorgias and Socrates would say, gentle persuasion, not with force. And anyway, to back up my claims, let's say you try to explain to someone about neuroscience. Now, I don't really know any important terms for neuroscience, so I can't really give particular details, but you'd have to explain to them, one, what the field of neurology details, such as the study of the brain and its health and ways to get it healthy. You have to explain to people the different functions of the brain, and you'd have to explain to people what each part does and what happens if each part gets broken, and the specific terms of the study. With philosophy, you would have to explain to people that epistemology means the study of knowledge. You have to explain to people what dialectics is and analytics. You have to explain to people how, like, the different philosophical schools of thought, and even in particular the stuff that's more relevant to the discussion being had. But at the same time, you can't have all this in one conversation. So I'd have to say, with the in terms of the conversation being had, what you want to do is you want to talk about each individual thing according to this conversation, so that you define your terms, and once you define your terms, both you and the person can discuss things, and they'll use their mind, you use your mind, then you have a little discussion going on, and in that you display your understanding of the knowledge, but at the same time, they will learn the understanding of the knowledge. And that's how friendships are born, pretty much. That this mutual understanding, and people are talking about things and adding on and adding on. Who knows, you might discover something. This is a pretty short video compared to my other videos as of late, but at the same time, it's just one little argument I really wanted to get out there, talking about empiricism and why I don't really like Albert Einstein's viewpoint that the simplicity of knowledge, or that simplicity of explanation, means that you know it, or that if you can't explain it, you do not know it, or you cannot explain it easily, simply don't know it. Because that type of idea is, in my opinion, actually dumb when it comes to more complex things. In fact, even when you consider Albert Einstein and what has happened with quantum physics, oh, there are some things he couldn't understand, so he had to leave it at that. And the problem is that when he left it at that, according to his mode of operation, he pretended that he understood it, but at the same time, he did not, and it was proven that he did not fully understand it. And so that's a good example of why, if you understand it, there's more words, and that you're able to explain the complexities, not necessarily simply, but to the right amount of complexity that there is, because simplicity is not all that, nor is complexity. I mean, like, some things are simple, some things are complex. That's the way of how things work in the world, and that's how you should interact with the world, by being flexible towards the complex and the simple. Don't try to confuse the two. Don't try to say something that's very complex is very simple, because it's not. Don't try to say something that's very simple is true, because it's not necessarily true. And always question things, because it's very important.